Joining us now is lawyer and founder of Save Women's Sport, Katherine to discuss the latest in the transgender sport debate, as well as She Who Must Not Be Named. Oh, hell, I'm going to name her anyway, J.K. Rowling. And the latest as she stands up for the very meaning of words, which is very controversial, you know, for a writer. Anyway, Katherine, welcome to the show.
Good evening, James.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I need to ask you about this. A new national poll has found that Australians are overwhelmingly in favor of restricting women's sport to biological females. According to the story, 67% of respondents do not believe that biological males and females should be able to compete together in sport. 75% of Australians believe there should be legal protections for girls in sport. Australians support protections for women in sport, so why are we still seeing pushes to change the rules?
Well, we had the IOC implement policies that are replacing sex with gender identity at the international level. Here in Australia, we have a body called Pride in Sport that is a function of ACON, and they are systematically working their way through every sports organisation in Australia to erase the concept of sex in sport and replace it with gender identity. Now, unfortunately, our sports administrators and bureaucrats are going along with this under the guise of kindness and inclusivity, not stopping to think about the impact that this will have on our women and girls.
Well, I mean, we've seen cases from around the world. This week there was a case, so I think, a swimmer in Pennsylvania for the University of Pennsylvania who beat a record by 38 seconds in the pool and had just left all of her competitors in tears because they had no chance. I mean, it's the danger that we will see more and more cases like that if we don't do something to fix this problem in a fair way.
That's correct. Leah Thomas, formerly William Thomas, a very broad-shouldered young man, was competing in the males up until a year ago, where he took hormone suppression therapy. I looked at the NCAA guidelines. It doesn't indicate what those requirements actually are. That is basically just a mission statement for woke ideology. And he competed in the girls' competition, and he blitzed the field. And the female swimmers were actually left crying on the sidelines. They complained to the coach. Two complained anonymously to the press because they're in fear of not being able to find employment after they complete college. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. And this boy is allowed to compete as a woman and completely blitz the pool. It is an absolute farce.
Now, shifting gears in a big way, I just want to ask you quickly about Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who has come under fire again from trans activists on Twitter after she tweeted a London Times article about the absurdity of police logging rapists as women, in which she said, "War is peace, freedom is slavery," echoing Orwell, and "the penised individual who raped you is a woman." Katherine, Rowling has long been a target of these activists, especially on Twitter, due to her support for women's rights. How can she be so criticized simply, though, for standing up for words and their meaning? She is a writer, after all.
Well, she's speaking truth. And this, again, is gender identity superseding sex. And I ask the question, why is the self-declared special identity of a male predator, a man who is demonstrably dangerous to women and children because he is a rapist, more important than the truth and the rights of his victims to have their attacker acknowledged as the sex that he is? This is happening in Scotland. It's happening in the UK, US and Canada. And even in Australia, where men, predatory men who have assaulted women, are being put into the prison with women. The women are locked into cells with these men. There is nowhere for them to go. And some of these men have committed heinous crimes against women and children. And J.K. Rowling was speaking to this. Now, the fact that we can't even acknowledge a rapist as being male is extraordinary. And here in New South Wales, that is exactly what is happening with the Judiciary Bench Book. They are being expected to acknowledge someone's gender identity rather than their sex in a court of law. So it is happening. This is real. Words are being undermined. And as J.K. Rowling said, you know, war is peace. East Asia is at war with Oceania. And she made an excellent point.
Well, indeed. And Katherine, we're going to have to leave it there on that note. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for joining us throughout the year on Outsiders and tonight on Inside the News on this critical issue, these critical issues of language and women and women's rights.